Well, welcome, Steve Brown, to Type Fit.
Hi, Sean. Hi. Thank you for having me on your show.
That's all right, mate. Well, congratulations on the new album, which is called Forever.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. It's been a long time in the works because we're with a very, very small label. And so it's taken about 4 years probably in all to finish it because it's 12 brand new tracks. It's first time we've
Oh,
ever done an album without any covers on it at all.
yeah.
So yeah, it's been a long time in the works, but yeah, we're really proud of this album. I'm really happy with it. So yeah, fingers crossed. It doesn't just escape and people hear it.
So, well, it's got instant success, hasn't it? It's already in the dance charts.
Yeah, yeah, it went into iTunes dance charts at number one on the weekend, and we had an iTunes place on the main chart as well.
Hmm.
And who I don't know where it is now because that chart changes daily. But for us, that was like unbelievable because we haven't had a hit for over 40 years. So to get anything like that is just we're so grateful, absolutely unbelievable at this age, this at this old age and this time of our careers. That's we're just grateful for anything that comes our way.
No, you should be really proud. I've heard the album, obviously, and it's absolutely brilliant.
Uh-huh.
It's yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a really a good sort of up-tempo, upbeat pop dance kind
Hmm.
of album, and it's kind of in the vein that we hope it would appeal to people of all ages, but mainly of people who would have known us back in the 80s, and it's got that kind of bit of a stepped feel to it and a bit and a little bit retro, but there's some very modern songs on there as well.
Hmm, yeah.
So, and we've got a guy called Matt Pop that's done most of the productions, and he's really really good. We're very lucky to have him producing our stuff, and Seventh Heaven, who are quite well known production team.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're really really lucky to have this opportunity.
Well, you've had a long career in music, as you've just said, and
Uh,
so did you always want to be a performer?
yeah, because I started off going to stage school, and when I
Hmm.
was about how old was I? Probably 10 or 11. I come from a very kind of working class background. My
Hmm.
parents weren't in show business at all. My dad was a builder, a carpenter, mum a housewife, and had a very, very working class background. And I started going to a stage school, and the school were absolutely brilliant for me because I used to go every night after school during the week, and my parents could only afford to pay for one class a week. So the school used to let me go free for all the other classes
Oh, that's cool.
because they liked I don't know, they liked me. So yeah, so I was really fortunate there, and then I went to I did quite a lot of classical dancing, and I went to I ended up being a classical dancer initially, but I realized very quickly that I wasn't going to be Nureyev. I was in English National Ballet for
Hmm.
two years, and then I gave that up because I just thought, no, this is not going to go anywhere. I'm always going to be in the chorus. And so then my dad had been a singer, and I always enjoyed singing, and I wanted to do a bit of everything, a bit of singing, dancing, acting, whatever. And so I started auditioning for musicals, and then my first musical in the West End was a show called Best Little House in Texas,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and it was the Broadway production that had been very successful. Came to London with the two Tony Awards stars that had been in the Broadway production, and came to London, but it didn't transfer. The humor didn't transfer quite as well, and it was a lovely show. I really enjoyed it, but it was in at Drury Lane and it only ran for about 6 months. And so that was my first singing job. And then after that, I had various other things that I did. I did a little bit of modeling, but not very much. People always say ex-model, Steve, but I wasn't Britain's next top model. I did a bit of catalogue work. That was it. In fact, Nick Kamen was also in my agency as well, so I knew him quite well,
Hmm.
and a really lovely guy. And we both ended up being performers. And yeah, yeah. So those times were very odd because I was kind of figuring out what was going on, what I wanted to do, and then the audition came along for the band through my agent, and yeah, and I got the Tight Fit job. So yeah, it kind of started from there. But I thought I was just going to have a kind of a musical theatre kind of career, and then
Mm.
it diverted off into another direction.
Yeah.
And for me anyway, which was exciting, and I loved it. And then when the band kind of came to an end, I went back to doing theatre again, back to
Yeah.
doing musical theatre, and
Oh, sorry, can I just stop you there? Can I just take you back a little bit?
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. So my understanding, so I've done a bit of research on this, obviously, and
Uh,
The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and so that was made in the studio before you joined, wasn't it,
oh,
originally? So that was by Tim Freeze Green, I think, who recorded it with the original version with Roy Ward as the
oh.
singer. I've seen a picture of Tim. It doesn't look particularly hideous. So why did he want somebody else to come in and front the band? Was it just more a case of professional dancers
They
and
owned no, they owned the name of the band,
yeah,
and they'd had hits with it with Back to the 60s, part one and part two, and
yeah, yeah.
they didn't have a band, so they wanted to have a band. So that's when they auditioned the three of
Oh,
us
I see. Right.
to come in and sing.
Yeah.
And Fancy Allen was a big hit for us, so that was wonderful. And Secret Heart was kind of not such a big hit, but I still enjoy that. I still love that song.
Yeah.
And then after that, the record company were horrible, absolutely horrible, and
Oh,
sacked
hang
the
on. Sorry.
girl.
Let's just go back a little bit. I'm sorry, mate. You're just getting a bit different. So if you go back to Lion Sleeps Tonight, if that's okay, because I think that's where most people sort of got to know the band. So how much fun was it filming that video?
Yeah, we did the video in actually not far from where I'm living now, in the studio around the corner. It was great fun, it was really amazing to be a part of that, and film that video, and do Top of the Pops, and do all
Yeah,
those
yeah.
shows. That was incredible.
Well, when you were doing the video, were the monkeys quite well behaved? Were they just running
No,
out?
no,
No.
I felt terrible for the monkey. It was
Yeah.
no, it wasn't very happy about being there, and it was trying to attack people. And bless it, poor thing, it wasn't really wasn't happy at all.
Yeah,
And we felt quite bad for it, but the record company just had this idea of how it was all going to look, and yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that was yeah, you're not happy monkey.
Another question as well. So obviously the lyrics. This is a joke question, by the way. So the lyrics of the song are "Hush, my darling, the lion sleeps tonight." But obviously you're being quite noisy, singing and dancing and stuff like that. Were you
Uh,
ever concerned that the lion would actually wake up?
No. In fact, one show we did, I think it was in Topop in Amsterdam. It's like their version of Top of the Pops. And we went in the studio, and they actually had a lion in a cage
Oh
in the
my God.
studio while we're performing. Oh, which was bizarre, absolutely bizarre. Why they thought that was going to add to anything, because this poor lion was in just like in
Yeah,
a small cage in the studio. So, but you just turn up and you do your gig and then you leave, and they do what they want to do around you. You don't have any control over that. But that was
yeah,
probably one of the most bizarre things that ever happened.
yeah. I remember you were on TV all over the place at the time, weren't you? It must have
Yeah.
been really arduous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We are all over the place, all over Europe, everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. What was it like on Top of the Pops? Was it a big surprise for you?
Yeah, Top of the Pops was amazing. We loved doing it. It was really fun because it's a kind of everybody grew up watching Top of the Pops, so being a part of that show and being around all the other artists and watching how it was filmed, in the day it looked like it was a big studio full of loads of people, but it was like quite a small group of people that they'd move around in front of each set. So
Right.
it wasn't it was the illusion was very good. They were very clever at the way they filmed it. And yeah, I remember we were on with lots of other bands that I was big fans of. So that was great fun, really, really good fun. I love doing that. And Julie kind of knew it because she'd already been on Top of the Pops. She was in a dance group called Zoo,
Hmm.
and that was after Pan's People finished. So she'd been a dancer on Top of the Pops, and she'd also been in a band called Lips that had toured around Russia and Europe. So she kind of knew the setup at the Top of the Pops before we even went on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably the highlight. That year was a great year for us, and we did a band tour as well. We did a live concert tour that year, and we had Paul Young's band, the Q-Tips,
Yeah.
and he was part of the band as well. Paul Young was doing backing vocals for us. He hadn't had a hit at that time.
Wow.
It was before he'd had his first single out. So but we knew the Q-Tips are this amazing band. So we had this fantastic band that we toured the UK with, and I think that was probably the best and most fun part of that whole experience was doing the live shows and having that amazing band
Yeah.
and just having crazy events going on every night in the hotels where we were performing, and I have lots of fond memories of those days.
Well,
Yeah,
as you said, the second song, Fantasy Island, that was another big hit, wasn't it? And
yeah, yeah,
so how did it work in terms of the recording studio? Because you sang on that, didn't you? It was performed
yeah,
by
yeah,
yourself and the two girls, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the record company Zomba, we were with Jive, who were part of Zomba Music, and Zomba owned recording studios as well.
Hmm.
So we'd always record at their studios, and yeah, it was quite horrible because they charged a fortune for using their studios, an absolute fortune, and we'd have to make that money back before we earned any money. So
Yeah,
they made sure that we had the expenses that we had were as high as possible before we ever made any but money back. Because you have to recoup everything before you get paid.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that was quite not good times. We were paid very very small amounts of money for any work that we did just because we were always in debt to them.
yeah.
Yeah. But I mean that's not unique to us. That's
No,
probably
no.
that's probably very common amongst lots of bands from the 80s.
Yeah. Well, that single, Fantasy Island, where was it filmed? The video.
We filmed the video in Saint-Tropez in the south of France.
Um,
So yeah, the record company, every time we did a video, I think the record company really decided where they would like to go on holiday. So
so,
yeah, so we did that in Saint-Tropez. The next one we did in Venice. So for Secret Heart, we went to Venice and filmed the video for that there. Yeah, so we went to some nice places to film, but mainly because they just wanted a holiday, basically.
did they charge you to make the videos as well?
Oh God, yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah, thousands. I think one of the videos cost like 10 grand to make. So
yeah,
not lying. I think Fantasy was expensive and Secret Heart was even more expensive.
yeah.
So yeah, those were the days though when people were just splashing money around like it was going out of fashion.
What was it like to suddenly find yourself becoming very famous?
As parts of it that I enjoyed, I'm a pretty private. kind of quiet, living a quite quiet life. I'm not, not. I think the girls enjoyed that fame part of it more than I did. And when it came to an end, I was kind of happy to kind of just to blend back into the background again. But there were parts of it that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed traveling. I really enjoyed the live performances and also meeting people, who were fans on the road. That was fun.
Mm.
But some of the attention wasn't that. I didn't enjoy all of the attention, and to be honest, when you're young, you're very insecure about yourself, like having to wear a blooming loincloth on top of the pops. I hated that. I absolutely hated that because, you're young and insecure and and the record company, right, this is what you're wearing. Right, I really don't want to wear that. Well, I'm sorry, this is what you're wearing. And so we had lots of arguments over that. And the first time I wore it on top of the pops, the Michael Hell, the producer, said, no, 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 you can't wear that. So I had to go and change and find something in wardrobe, found a string vest, wore that, and then came back down onto the floor when we were number one, and Michael Hell said, yeah, time to get the loincloth on now, I think. So I was like, my heart just sunk. And I think the record company thought we were going to get another, because we've been at number one for 3 weeks at that point. Are we going to get another week of number ones, of being number one? And the week that I wore it, I think it dropped down in the chart. So it had absolutely no effect at all. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned about the money, and obviously it must have come to a head because the two girls, did they leave first? I think they.
Yeah, well, the record company sacked the girls and kept
Right.
me on. I was dumb. I should have left as well, but I thought I wouldn't. I need my job, so I stayed on with the two new girls, and it kind of we went on for about 6 months, but it just kind of fizzled out. It was never going to work with two new people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just kind of came to an end, and then I had after it finished, I had some other deals with other labels. I had a deal with Record Shack Records, and then I had a deal with Rocket Records with Elton's label, and did a song with Stock Aitken and Waterman, which was a good track, and another song with Larry and Steve from Bronski Beats,
Hmm.
again, which is a really nice song. And but nothing, they were minor hits, but nothing major. So I thought, oh, it's just time to move on now. So then I just started auditioning and going back to musical theatre again, and went in that direction where I've been originally, where I've
Yeah.
been quite happy originally.
Is there anything you really? I mean, do you regret going into the world of pop music and stuff like that?
No, no, not at all, not at all. Because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I'm very, very grateful for it.
Yeah.
Some of it was good and some of it was bad,
Hmm.
but all in all, I'm really, really happy that I did it. Julie and Denise and I are all, firm friends. We've known each other since we were just kids, basically, and yeah, it's a very happy time now because we don't have those pressures,
Yeah.
those outside pressures that we had back in the day, and we were with a very small label, and it's a very, very different world for us. We're a lot older and obviously, and a little bit wiser, and we do it because we enjoy it and we want to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when do you you got back together again? Obviously. So when? Why did that happen? The reunion.
Uh, so they were. I'd just finished because I'd been doing Miss Saigon, the show
Hmm.
in town, and I'd stopped doing that, and I'd been very ill during that period in the 90s, and which had led to me losing some of my sight. So I lost quite a bit of my sight. I'm blind in this eye, and I've got about 20% in the other eye. So I couldn't do theatre anymore, and I stopped doing it basically because I couldn't do what I used to do anymore.
Mm.
And and the girls have been doing 80s shows with Type Fit, but with somebody else, not with me. And he was unavailable for a show that they had coming up. And Denise said, shall we call Steve and see if he's interested? So they called me up, and I had to think about it. I had to think about it for a few minutes and think, oh, shall we do this? And then I rang the back and said, yeah, well, let's have a go. Let's see how it goes. And that was probably like 15 years ago, maybe more than that now.
Mm.
And we start, and from then it kind of grew because we started getting more 80s nights and things. And so we did, and then we did a show at the at the Royal Vauxhall Tavern right at the beginning of when we were working together. And somebody from London Pride was there in the audience and asked us to do that. So that, which was amazing, in front of 20,000 people in Trafalgar Square. So, and then it kind of just sort of blossomed from there, really. We started doing more Prides and more 80s nights and that kind of
Mm.
thing. And so it's been a long time. We've been doing it together for quite a few years now. And we did an album in 2016, but that was mainly covers. There was only one brand new song on that track. We did it with a record label called Almighty Records, and that went really well. And I had offered that album because we'd recorded it all ourselves to a different label called Energize, and they said, yeah, yeah, we like it. We like what you're doing, but we'd prefer to do new material with you. So maybe in the future. So we did this album with Almighty, and then out of the blue, a few years later, Energize came back to us and said, we've got these songs, what do you think? And that's how we've ended up now where we are doing
Ah.
this album with Energize Records.
How did it work in terms of songwriting with you and the others in the band?
Uh, well, I have written some songs in the past, but I've never written with Julie and Denise. The record company have got a bunch of very, very talented writers that they work with. So the songs on on this album, are all written by either by a guy called Gordon Pagoda, who's written for Steps, and a guy called T Webb, who's got an amazing voice and has written, and Dave Buswell. So we've got like a team of writers who've written all
Oh,
these new songs on the album. Yeah.
hmm. One thing I love about your gigs is they're always amazingly fun, aren't they? You can see the audience is just absolutely loving it.
Yeah, yeah. The audience are always really, really fun because it's an 80s night. So they come along dressed up in crazy, shoulder pads and glitter and rah-rah skirts. And that's just the guys. So it's quite a fun thing to do because, the 80s was a great time for music. And we do, obviously, we only have a couple of hits. So we do lots of covers of other bands' songs as well. So those nights, yeah, can get a bit crazy, but I love doing the 80s shows, and very often we're on with other people
Hmm.
from other bands, from that period.
Yeah,
It's not usually just us. So yeah, yeah, those are our main gigs, those types of gigs. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So where can you buy the album from?
So the album's on energizerecords.com. So I
Mhm.
think they're doing a a vinyl which is in process at the moment, but the CD and the downloads are already out. And so you go to their website for the CDs, which is energizerecords.com. And the streaming and the downloads are all in the usual places. I think it's iTunes, and I don't understand all this
No,
modern
me too.
palaver, but it's iTunes and whatever, all the
Spotify.
Spotify, yeah, the
Yeah.
usual places that you get music from. So yeah, that's where you would find us now. The album's called Forever.
And where are you playing live next? Are you touring to promote the album?
We probably won't do a tour.
Mm.
but we will do gigs, but we've got an agent for that, and they just come in, so they randomly come in. Hopefully, I mean, we just gigged this weekend just to promote the album,
Yeah.
but hopefully they will come in. We have got gigs lined up for this. We're doing some prides this summer, a couple of prides.
Yeah.
So they'll be, you know, whenever they come in, we go out and do them, but it won't be like a national tour or anything like that. We
Right.
wouldn't expect something like that at this
Uh,
stage.
well, good luck with the album. It's I've heard it like I said before. It's brilliant. Really, really love it, and
Thank you
I hope it
very
does well for
much.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ben. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me on.
You take care, mate. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much.